What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to this week's video. You were never here. Welcome to this week's video. So, recently in the UK, we've been getting some relatively nice weather, okay? It's been sunny, it's been warm, you can go outside in shorts and a t-shirt and not freeze your bollocks off. Not this week though. This week has been shit. But this nice weather reminded me that we are only about 2.5 months away from summer officially starting. And you know what that means? Beer gardens, getting pissed on the beach, the majority of the time with your mates, the nights get longer and life just overall gets better when it's summer. And for this reason, the majority of people want to try and look their absolute best during this period of time, because this is when you're going to spend most of the time with minimal clothing on, okay? So you're down the beach, you're in your shorts, you want to look relatively good. And this doesn't mean you need to get absolutely shredded for summer or have an insane six-pack. This just means maybe dropping 2 or 3 kilos or getting down to maybe 5 or 6% body fat, lower than what you are now. And this is a common goal for a lot of the general population, and this is a big point in the year where people start a diet, because we're about 2 to 3 months out, so about 10 to 12 weeks out from summer, which is a good sort of length for a diet if you're interested in actually getting in better shape than what you may be in now, ready for summer. And there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to dieting, when it comes to weight loss, everything like this, that I covered in a big podcast a few weeks ago that you can find in the link in my description down below. And originally this video was going to be 5 tips on how to successfully lose weight ready for summer, but after writing it, I kind of scrapped that idea, okay? Because I've done a podcast on it. You can go down, if you want some tips, you can go down and check that link below to my podcast. It's about 45 minutes long if you want that. But in this video, I'm not giving any tips. I kind of am at the very end, stay tuned for that. So in today's video, I'm going to touch on 3 key points that you need to have in check if you want to successfully go on a mini cut or a diet ready for summer. And these 3 topics are going to range from tracking your progression all the way down to how to structure a training program for a diet, and then at the end I'll give a few tips on how to help you when you're dieting. Some dieting hacks if you wish. So, sit back, relax, and let's get into this video. So, once you've decided how much weight you want to lose or what type of body composition you want to achieve by summer is, the next big step is actually getting a date set of when you want to achieve this by. And this is important for 2 reasons. First, it's keeping you accountable in your diet. Because if you don't have an end goal or a date that you want to achieve this weight loss by, it's easy to push your diet back a day or 2. Like, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start the next day, or I'll start the Monday coming up. We'll count this week as a write-off. And you can think of this like spending money on a credit card or a Visa card. It is so much easier to go into a shop and buy pointless shit like trainers and clothes that you do not need and just whack it on a credit card than it is to actually pay with physical money. Because in your mind, you are not comprehending that you are at a loss and you are spending your money because there's no physical transaction happening. You're just whacking a piece of plastic on another piece of plastic and boom, you never see it, you do not know the money's there, you do not know it's gone, it's just gone. And you can apply this to weight loss as well. If you set your goal for the 1st of June, okay, that gives you 53 days from this video being recorded to achieve this goal by. Every time you push that diet back a day or a week or a month, you're reducing the amount of time and the likability or the likelihood of you achieving that goal. And this puts you under pressure and some accountability to stick on your diet and not have binge days and not push it back or not start the diet the next week, because you know you can comprehend where you need to end by and where you need to achieve that goal by. Whereas if your goal was just to lose weight for summer and you didn't have an end goal in mind, it's easy to push that date back and back and back because you're not really in a time frame. In your mind, you're not doing any damage to your diet because there is no diet. You're just getting lean. And secondly, it helps you break down that big overall goal of I want to lose 10 kilos for summer. Helps you break it down into manageable and easily trackable and obtainable goals that you can hit and targets you can set week to week. So say for example, you want to lose 10 kilos for summer, right? To most people, that is just their goal, okay? From now until summer, I want to lose 10 kilos. Fantastic, that's a good goal, but how are you going to manage that? Is 2 kilos of weight loss good? Is 3 kilos? Is 4 kilos? Is 5? Probably not, because your brain can only comprehend. Your goal is 10 kilos, and if you're not hitting it, you have not successfully achieved that goal. And to most people, this can put them off, or they feel that the diet's not working, or they're not losing weight fast enough, and yeah, at that point, the goal's pretty much binned. Whereas, if you set yourself, let's say 20 weeks to lose 10 kilos in weight, you can break that down into weekly goals of losing half a kilo. That's 1 pound of weight every week for 20 weeks. This gives you an idea of 1, how to track your progression to your end goal, and 2, it gives you incentive to carry on going forward, because every week you're aiming for that half a pound, or half a kilo, sorry. You're aiming for that 1 pound of body fat. You're aiming for that half a kilo of weight loss every single week. So that way, it's not the 10 kilos of weight loss that you're aiming for, it's starting with the first kilo, okay? Losing that. Maybe that takes 1 week, maybe it takes 2. That's fine, as long as you are able to track that and break it down from your overall goal. So the big thing that you should take away from this point is just set yourself a time frame, okay? Sit down, figure out a date that you want to achieve this by. Maybe you have a party that you are definitely going to in June, okay? So when summer starts. Make that your end date, so that when you turn up to that party, or you turn up to that event, or you turn up to the beach on the first day of summer, you're looking absolutely fucking insane, okay? And you've not pied the diet off, or the goal off, because you've got halfway through, you figured, shit, I have no idea what I'm doing, when it needs to be done by, fuck it, let's just binge and go to sprinkles. Okay, so now I want to touch on actually tracking your progression throughout a diet, throughout a cut, and I want to give you 3 different methods that you can either use individually or all together to help you track with more accuracy actually how well and how successful your diet is going, and in return how successful you are going to be in terms of achieving your end goal or your weight loss goal. The first is going to be weekly weigh-ins. So the way that weekly weigh-ins work is you would weigh yourself every single day under the same circumstances in the same conditions. So this means doing it every single morning, roughly the same time, on an empty stomach, and after you've gone to the toilet. This means that every time you're weighing yourself, you are doing it with the most accuracy and the most consistency every single day. Because one of the big things that I see is people will weigh themselves at the gym, but the issue with that is you could be weighing yourself at 5 in the evening after consuming 2,500 calories, or you could be weighing yourself at 10 in the morning after consuming 500 calories for breakfast. The more food you have in your body, the more you'll weigh. And if you do it mid-workout, that's going to spike your weight even more. And this can cause fluctuations that many people would deem are the diet not working or the diet not being successful, when in reality, you're just not being consistent in the way that you are weighing yourself. So let's just say you've weighed yourself every single day of the week, okay? From Monday all the way to Sunday, 7 days. You would add up every single one of those daily weigh-ins, okay? Add them all up, divide by 7, because that's how many days you've weighed yourself, and that gives you an average of how much you've weighed for that week. And then you repeat this process for week 2. And then what you do from there is you compare week 2's weigh-in to week 1's weigh-in. And this is going to be you tracking your weight. You wouldn't do it daily because there are a ton of things that can fluctuate or make your weight fluctuate day to day, such as like sodium intake, water intake, volume of food, everything. They're just really inconsistent. So the best way to do it is take week 2, compare it to week 1's. If week 2's is lower than week 1's, perfect. You're in a calorie deficit, you're losing weight, carry on, you're doing fantastic. If it hasn't moved at all and it's roughly the same, bar or minus like 0.1 of a kilo or 0.2 of a pound, then make some adjustments. You may be at maintenance and bring that weight, bring your calories down a little bit, or add an extra gym session in. Or if the weight's gone up, you know you need to definitely bring those calories down because you're in a calorie surplus. So we've just briefly spoke about that, but if you guys want a more in-depth video on the topic of daily weighings and comparing averages, I'm going to put a link in the description to one of my friend Dave's YouTube channels. He's recently just done a video, it's like 20 minutes long, that goes really in-depth with this topic. He gets a whiteboard out, like I've got here, and he illustrates it a lot better. So if you're a visual learner rather than a verbal, then click on that link, go check out his video. It's really easy and simple to understand, and it's very, very clear on his presentation. So give it a check. I would recommend doing it anyway, just because it will help. The only issue that I can see being at all relevant to this method of tracking your progression is if you're really new to the gym. So if you're new to the gym, your body is very sensitive to metabolic stress. And this is just free weights, you lifting weights, whether you're doing a bench press, squats, deadlifts, bicep curls, your body is gonna absolutely love everything you're doing, and it's gonna be very sensitive to that stimulation. Because of this, your body's gonna put on muscle fairly quickly, but at the same time, you can do this while in a calorie deficit, so lose fat and gain muscle. This is also known as body recomposition. It's preferably not the best goal to have in mind. You either pick one or the other, lose weight or gain muscle, and you go for it. But if you're like 1 or 2 years into your lifting career, you can kind of do this body recomposition and do both. Just know it will taper off the more you do it, and eventually you will have to choose one or the other. Now, because of this, you can be gaining muscle, losing fat, and the scale will just tell you you're weighing the same week to week. You may change physically, but if you are solely focusing on numbers, unfortunately, you may not even lose anything. It may even, like, the number may increase because of the muscle that you're putting on. And because of this, it brings me on to the second method of tracking your progression, and that is with pictures. Pictures are what I deem is one of the best methods in terms of tracking your weight loss, because you can go on a 10-week diet and you can take a picture from week 1 to week 5. And you can tell if your diet's working within those 5 weeks. I'd be pretty surprised if you couldn't tell a difference in your body composition from week 1 to 5. If there's no change whatsoever, you probably need to lower the calories, add a gym session in, or maybe perhaps do some extra cardio sessions. Alternatively, if the picture looks genuinely different and you need to do this in the same lighting, the same time, under like the same circumstances like you would do if you were weighing yourself in the morning, this is just going to be another method that you can utilize alongside weigh-ins, like combine them both. Because if the number on the scale's not gone down, but your picture, you look physically leaner in week 5 than you do to week 1, then perfect. The diet's working, you're just gaining a bit of muscle on top of losing a little bit of fat. And then the last method that you can use, which I wouldn't really recommend using unless you're incorporating it onto the last 2 points, or at least one of the last 2 points that we've just briefly touched upon, and that's measurements. Just measure yourself once a week. You can measure your arms, your waist, your chest, your legs, your calves. I wouldn't do so because they never grow. So doing this, you'll physically see as you start to lose fat, these measurements will hopefully get smaller and smaller. The worst thing about this method is trying to correctly measure yourself in the same place as you did the week before. And this is why I say you need to do it alongside another one and not solely rely on this one method, because it's so inaccurate, because chances are you're not going to be able to weigh yourself, or measure yourself, sorry, in the exact same way that you did the week before. So you may go to measure your arms one week and you could measure the bicep peak, which is going to be the thickest part of your arm, and then the next week you could measure sort of the lower part of it, which is going to be one of the smallest parts of your arm. So in your eyes, you may have lost an inch around your arm, which you'd think was completely from fat because you've done a lot of curls. That's not how it works. When in reality, you've just measured yourself in an incorrect place. So if you were going to do it, I would just measure your waist and not really focus on anything else. Measure your waist, take weekly pictures, and try and weigh yourself at least 4 times a week to get an average. Combine all 3 of them, and you've got the most effective way, or or the most effective method of tracking your progress that you could possibly have. So the last thing I want to touch on is training programs. How to structure, or how should you structure a training program if you're going on a diet? Because more often than not, if I get a new client or I speak to anyone that wants to go on a diet or has weight loss as a goal, they assume your training program needs to be less weights and you need to be doing more HIIT sessions, more cardio, and you need to spend less time away from the weight and more time on the treadmill, on the spin bikes, or going on runs, when that's not the case. So the way that weight loss works is being in a calorie deficit. Plain and simple. You need to be eating less calories than your body is expending per day in order to start to lose weight or lose body fat. So say for example, we have your total daily energy expenditure, or your TDEE, okay? This monster can is your TDEE, okay? And let's say this number is 2,000. So your TDEE is 2,000 calories a day. This is how many calories a day you will burn to maintain your current weight. And TDEE is composed of 4 things. You have your BMR, which maybe takes up this much, okay? About 50% of your TDEE. This is how many calories you'll burn just to maintain your current weight if you did absolutely nothing. No exercise, you laid in bed all day. That's how many calories you would burn. In this case, it'd be about 1,000. And the next component is going to be your thermal effects of feeding, and this takes up a smaller percentage of your total TDEE. And the thermal effects of feeding, this basically means a certain amount or a certain percentage of the protein, carbs, and fats, or the calories you get from protein, carbs, and fats, are burned off in the process of absorption and absorbing and digesting these calories. I think it's 20 to 25% of the total calories consumed from proteins are burnt off and not even entered into your body, just to help with the absorption and digestion of it, because protein is such a utilized macronutrient. And then it's about 10 to 15% of overall calories from carbs and fats are burned off before it hits your body, to help obviously with whatever their functions are. So that's thermal effects of feeding. Your third component is going to be your NEAT, and this is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is just anything you do outside of the gym that involves your body moving, okay? So whether you're walking to the shops, taking the stairs rather than the escalator, riding a bike rather than going on a spin class in the gym, anything that involves your body being active outside the gym, that is your NEAT. And then that leaves one component out of the 4 left, and this is your EAT, and that is your exercise energy thermogenesis. I can't remember the exact name of it, but if this was your total TDEE, and this is the whole point of this long-winded explanation, if this was your TDEE, everything we've just spoke about, other than your EAT, which is the calories you burn in the gym, everything we just spoke about comes up to about here. Your EAT, or the calories you expend in the gym, are so tiny in comparison to everything you do outside of the gym that your training program doesn't really need to be adjusted as long as your diet is on point. But there are some key things you will need to add into your training program in order to make it more beneficial for you while being on a diet, because you can lose muscle while being in a calorie deficit if you have been training for a long period of time. So to reduce the amount of muscle mass that you will lose through dieting, you just need to make sure you are training every muscle group at least once a week. So either you use it or lose it. If you're not doing any chest exercises throughout a 10-week cut, chances are your chest is going to look quite shit at the end of that 10 weeks. Secondly, do your compound lifts, okay? So bench, squat, overhead press. You can optionally do deadlifts. I never do them unless I'm bulking, just because they're pointless in a deficit. So this is going to help you maintain strength during a caloric deficit. And thirdly, you want to try and aim to lift the exact same at the end of your cut as what you did at the beginning. So if you started your cut off benching 100 kilos for 3 sets of 8 reps on a bench press, you want to make sure that you're hitting that at the end, or as close to that at the end of your diet or your cut as you were at the beginning. And this is going to ensure that you do not lose much muscle mass or lose as little muscle mass throughout the cut as possible. So there 3 important topics that everyone needs to know if they're thinking about going on a diet or getting ready or getting leaner for summer. Now what I want to give you guys is just some helpful tips that you can use while dieting to help with the successfulness of that diet. The first one is going to be intermittent fasting. Now this, again, is just a tool to use alongside it. Intermittent fasting is essentially just pushing back your eating window. So rather than waking up at 8 and eating from 8 all the way until, let's say, 10 at night when you go to bed, giving you a 14-hour eating window, you would reduce that down to, let's say, 12 till 8 p.m. Meaning you have less time to eat calories, so chances are you're going to eat less calories, in turn putting you in a caloric deficit without you even knowing about it. So this is something that I do implement, I do somewhat follow every now and then. If I want breakfast, I'll have breakfast. If I'm not really hungry, I'll just skip breakfast and then just eat later on in the day. The idea about it is just it shortens that eating window, meaning you probably will just consume less calories. The next tip is going to be utilising these things, or any low calorie or low sugar carbonated drink or fizzy drink. Okay, so yes, these have aspartame in them, but it's such a minuscule amount that in order to have this be detrimental to your health, you're going to have to consume like 50 cans, which I've not got sitting next to me. Okay, these things for me just contain caffeine, so it's a good appetite suppressant. Okay, it blunts my appetite. I just wake up in the morning, grab one of these, I'll have a can either on the way to the gym or just after I get back from the gym. It just helps me put off my first meal even longer. They're just nice as well. I usually whack like 1 or 2 of these down a day. The deeper I get into a diet, it helps me stay sane throughout a diet. They're just nice, they taste good, and it's better to drink drink that contains 16 calories than a glass of Coke which contains like 100. Third point is going to be volumize your meals. I genuinely have no idea how people do not utilise fruits and vegetables to bump up just the sheer amount of food they can eat throughout the day. A typical pack of microwavable Uncle Ben's rice, which is 250 grams of food, contains about 450 to 500 calories. That doesn't leave you full for a long time, and it's mainly just high carb and high fat. You're not getting much nutrients in there. It's not very nutrient dense because it's all processed and pre-made, as opposed to 450 grams of strawberries, which is only 150 calories. It's like a third of the calories for double the amount of food. And in terms of on a diet, you want to try and keep yourself as full as possible for the least amount of calories to prevent you from binging, because if you fill your stomach up, you're just physically not going to be hungry. So try and have a few salad bowls, some stir fries. I usually try and get in a stir fry every single day. So just 250 grams of any sort of vegetable, or well, mainly vegetables. You wouldn't put a fruit in a stir fry. Vegetables in a pan, lean mince, some 0 calorie or low sugar sauce on top, some seasonings. You've got like half a kilo of food for like 400 calories, as opposed to a quarter of a kilo of food for the same amount of calories. Okay, volumize your meals. Just go into local supermarkets, go to your frozen berry section, go to your fresh fruit section, go to your vegetable section, pick up a few bags. And if you don't like the fruits and vegetables, just close your eyes, pretend they're ice cream. Who gives a shit? And then the last kind of tip that I want to give you guys is implement flexible dieting. Now again, in terms of when it comes to the general population's perception of dieting, they assume no ice cream, no chocolate, no crisps, nothing. You have to stick to chicken, broccoli and rice every day. Every meal, every day. Jesus Christ, I'm having a hard time speaking today. Not the case. Like we said, as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you can eat whatever the fuck you want. If there's a tip that I can give you, alongside all these other tips, if you set up a MyFitnessPal account, the only 2 things you need to hit on that account are your protein goal for the day and your overall calorie intake. The rest of it, fill up with whatever you want. Just be aware that the more junk food you fill it up with, the less amount of micronutrients and nutrients you'll get throughout your diet. Also, they're more calorically dense foods. Stuff like McDonald's, KFC, all of this is calorically dense foods, but you can still implement them into your diet if you stay within your calorie limit. Back onto the point, there are a ton of low calorie variations of nice foods that you like ice creams. You can do homemade pizzas with low carb pizza bases, with low sugar pasta sauce, low-fat cheese, lean chicken on top, and then your vegetables. Boom, you've got yourself a healthy pizza. The whole pizza may contain 900 calories as opposed to 2,000, which a Domino's pizza has, and you can split that down into 2 meals and have one today and one tomorrow. Like, so you're giving yourself more food and more nicer foods for longer days or more days, and it's cheaper. And that's going to conclude this week's video. I hope you guys have taken something away from this. Hope you've learned something, as I do in every video. Hope you guys take something away and learn from it. Be sure to check out the links in the description to my podcast about dieting and Dave's video about weekly and average weigh-ins. I've been Connor, you have been you. There is a shit ton of Monster cans next to me, and it's raining. Summer's only 2 months away. Only 2 months away. I'll see you guys later, and I'll catch you in the next video.